welcome everyone. Welcome to Talking Tech with Creatives podcast. I'm Stella Oni, author and speaker and technologist. As you know, our podcast dives deep into technology and creativity. I like the intersection between technology and creativity. I've always loved technology, and we've had some fantastic speakers who guests on the podcasts. I had Rob Moore, who was my first guest. It was an interesting one. And then I had a cybersecurity expert. So quite a few for you to go and listen to. And I've got a fantastic guest today. Her name is Wendy H. Jones. She's an author. In fact, she's a fantastic podcast host. She has her own podcast. She's got a publishing company. She's incredible with marketing. In fact, she does so many things that I had to have her on, and she is very good at utilizing technology, social media. So I think we're going to learn a lot from Wendy today. I'm just quite excited. So Wendy, welcome to the podcast, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me here, first of all, Stella. It's an absolute honour. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and your listeners today. I'm Wendy H. Jones, and I write crime fiction. I write young adult mysteries, cosy mysteries. What else? Children's picture books and non-fiction books for writers. And I'm currently also writing a series of books based on a real-life naval surgeon from Ecclefechan from the 19th century, early 19th century. So pretty eclectic, really. But I also love technology. I've been using technology since I was 12, when computers took up a whole room and you punched holes in a card. Somehow or other, we did that at school. I really don't know why, because nobody had even heard of computers then. I'm the TikTok lead for Sisters in Crime organization. I'm also one of the partners in Scott Publishing and Retreats. I have a podcast called The Writing and Marketing Show. I have a blog, which is Bookaholic, Wendy H. Jones Bookaholic. What else do? I do a lot. I have a publishing company called Scott and Lawson, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Writers Narrative magazine. So there we are.
Are you called the Scottish Association of Writers?
Oh, yes, I was. I was the
Yes.
president of the Scottish Association of Writers, but I've stepped down off that. However, if I'm elected by the members, I've been invited onto the board of Sisters in Crime. So there we go.
Awesome. That's fantastic, and we'll definitely vote you in because you're doing some fantastic thing in the space out there. So I'm going to ask you a few questions around, because I want our listeners to kind of like, those that are in writing or publishing and trying to publicize their work. I want to know about how you kind of like got into marketing and what's your idea is around marketing, because I know you are incredible with it, So please, can you share some ideas around what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I was the head of pre-registration nurse education for the Army, Navy and Air Force. And obviously with that, you're involved in promoting the services and the nursing services within that. And you were expected to speak about it and things. So you get a very good idea of how to talk about things and get to do it naturally from that. I was very briefly a Slimming World consultant and a manager in Slimming World. And they give you marketing training, and the marketing training they give you is actually very good. Based on something called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes, I know.
I'm an NLP practitioner, master practitioner and trainer.
Wow.
I know a lot about NLP. So a lot of what I do is based on NLP as well. But because I love technology, I just took to marketing online, social media, all that sort of thing, like a duck to water, really. If it's got, if it's technology, I'm a woman, I'll try anything. I'm an early adopter. My very first computer was the Commodore 64.
Wow.
So I harness everything I can do. I use lots of different things like Canva. People use Canva. I use BookBrush. I use BookBrush to make videos. A lot of what I do, it's not about selling. And
Mhm.
this is the way, this is the biggest mistake that people make when they're trying
Yeah.
to market their books online. They go, buy my book. Well, if somebody says to me, buy my book, I'll just go, no, you're all right, thanks. You know,
I know that for sure, you know, because why
yeah,
do I want to buy from you? So what's the key?
precisely.
What's the key then?
The key is relationship. It's
Mm.
building up relationships with people. It's about being nice to people, and people are invariably nice back. You
Yes.
know, now, I'm not saying that's about buying every single book from every person you meet, because that's impossible. But it's
Hmm.
supporting them in other ways. It's about being nice to readers. It's about finding out about them.
Yeah.
Um, because if you only talk about yourself all the time, everybody's like, oh, she's boring. It's
Yeah.
about joining in the conversation. And that's a lot of what marketing is about. It's not about putting television ads on. They don't work anymore.
No,
You
they
know,
don't. Yeah.
everybody buys because they want to know the person. So it's about saying about yourself.
Yeah.
Now, people say I want to be very private and I don't want anybody to know anything about me. And that's absolutely fair enough. Nobody has to do anything. That's
Hmm.
the starting point. Nobody has to do anything.
Yeah.
You have to do what you're comfortable with. But if you don't, your chances of selling books are lessened. I'm not saying you won't sell books,
Hmm.
but they are lessened.
Yeah.
Everybody's expected to do a certain amount of promotion these days, unless your name is J.K. Rowling, in which case everybody's going to buy everything you ever do.
Yeah.
That's not my name, so and yeah, your starting point is building up relationships, and it's things like you and I are doing this podcast together.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's about meeting people, discussing it. Oh, I like the sound of your podcast. Then people invite you onto their podcast if you've got something to say.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. It's about being visual, using music. I mean, TikTok is huge at the moment, massive,
Huge. Yeah.
massive.
Yeah, the thing about it is that people, I mean, like, you know, some of the listeners might say, okay, because some people say, oh, they have reservation about social media, or some other say we don't like TikTok, but we know that you don't have to go to all social media, that you can take one particular one that you actually are comfortable with, and you can go on there, and you don't even have to show your face, really. Like, I mean, like, this is a podcast. Okay, yeah, we're going to put it on YouTube, so we're going to be visual, you know, but you can do so many things. So I want to ask is about yourself, because I know you self-published some of your work.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a bit about your self-publishing journey? Because one thing is self-publishing, another thing is being able to sell.
absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us about your journey.
My
What?
journey, I had an idea for a book.
Mhm.
And at the time I was registered disabled with my lungs. I'm fine now, but I wasn't able to do lots. But if I was sat down, I could do anything I wanted because my lungs were fine when I was sat down. And you can write when you're sitting down. So I decided to write a book, which I did, and then I got it edited and re-edited. And then I thought, well, I'll pitch it to publishers, which I did.
Mhm.
And they basically said, no, no, no. And one person said, oh, well, we will look at it, but it might be, 3, 4 years before it comes out. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a long time, I'm not
Yeah,
very patient.
don't
So,
take about 2 years. Traditional publishing
yeah.
takes 2 years. Yeah.
So I thought, well, what I'll do is I will bring it out and see what it's like. But being good at marketing, when is the best time to market your book?
Hmm.
And I ask people that, and they'll all go, oh, when you bring it out, blah, blah, blah. No, the best time to start
Oh,
marketing your book is no, it is literally before you write the first word. And I hadn't written one word, and I had a
way
blog.
before. That's what I'm saying. Way
I
before
had
that.
not written
Yeah.
one word.
But you were
And
already marketing.
I put a blog out. I already had a blog, which was a book review blog. And I
Hmm.
said, I'm writing a book. It's going to be a crime book and it's going to be set in Dundee. That was all I said. I mean, there was a bit more than that in the
Yeah.
blog. That was
Yeah.
the gist of it. And people were going, oh my goodness, people went nuts. The blog got so many hits, they got so many comments. Oh, where can I buy it? When can I buy it? I'm like, did you actually read this? Because I haven't written one word all the way
Does that not
through.
scare you as a creative? Don't you feel? I mean, some people say, "Oh my God, I'll freeze if I say that." You know, I have the pressure. Obviously,
No,
you're not like, yeah, it's
no.
you. You're not.
I I did it because it makes me do it. You know what I mean? If I've said to the world I'm going to do it, I'm not going to back down.
Yeah.
So 2 years later, the book came out, but I had already been marketing it all the way through,
Years before.
and I people were waiting for it. And when
And
I went
gathering your community, let's remember that.
yes, my community, yeah. So my community were waiting for it. And I had a book launch at Waterstones, and this is how not to do it, okay?
Awesome, yeah.
I strolled into Waterstones and I went, can I have a book launch, please? And they went, who are you? So I explained who I was.
They don't
And
know who Wendy is, that's why.
at that point, nobody knew who I was. So I strolled in and, they kind of said, can I have a book launch? And they said, oh, well, can you, what is it? So it's crime fiction. I went, oh, yeah, crime fiction sells in Scotland. The good crime fiction. Good. Then they said, well, could you give us a copy and we'll have a look? I said, no, because I don't have any, but I can show you a picture of the cover on my mobile phone. And they went, oh, all right then. So I did that and they went, oh, great cover. And it's a crime book. Yeah, you can have a book launch if you can guarantee you get people here. And I said, I can absolutely 100% guarantee I'll get people here, okay? So I invited about 200 people to my book launch, and there were about 150 came, because you've always got to, and people were coming from all over Scotland. They were coming from Edinburgh, they were coming from the north of Scotland, they were coming from the islands on the west of Scotland. People came from everywhere. The place was packed.
I can well believe it. Yeah.
We could barely get them in. And so because of that, Waterstones were like, oh my goodness, you sold so many books, you can have as many book launches as you like. And then the next day, the library ordered 25 copies. And so Waterstones needed more books because they had a queue when they opened up. They had a queue. Now, bear in mind, I didn't even know the library knew I'd brought a book out, but apparently people had been in asking for it. Have you got Wendy H. Jones's book? Have you got Wendy H. Jones?
This is marketing at its best.
25 copies, and they've taken 25 copies of every single book of mine that comes out ever since.
Wow.
Dundee Libraries, Angus Libraries find out, and they buy loads of copies, and I'm in the ebooks there as well, and they go well in the libraries. So Waterstones needed more books. So then I went along to other bookshops, and they were saying, oh, maybe not. And then the next time they'd go in, they'd go, where are your books? You said you'd bring some. And I went, did I? I thought you said you won them. But I'm not going to argue. I didn't say that to them. I said, oh, sorry, I'll go and get them out the car. So I got some out the car. And I went around all the Waterstones and that were close enough to me. And said, would you like copies of the books? Did book signings for them. And I put it on social media. I used social media that it was available. And I went straight into the top 1,000 on Amazon.
Oh my God.
My first novel.
That is incredible.
Straight into the top 1,000. And I was selling like Billy O because I'd been marketing since before I wrote the first word.
The first word. Let me ask you a question, because not everybody, we know that what people like Waterstones, they take on books by traditional authors. So how were you able to get your books on there? What did you do? Are you able to tell us how you were able to?
When I first did it, it's different to you doing it now. When I first did it, I just went along and asked them, and they took them all in community. So they still take a lot of my books. Every time a book comes out, they take a lot.
Wow.
So some of my books, they took 100 copies.
That's relationship. That's a relationship built with them. So we're still coming back to relationship.
It's available in Waterstones in Scotland, but now they can get them through Ingram Spark. So I put them up on Ingram Spark, and then they do it from there.
Wow.
So they can get them from there, but I still take copies in if they want them. So, there's a dog just come in. I hope she doesn't want a treat, or it might get a bit noisy.
Okay, that's all right. I love dogs anyway. So so you've kind of like talked about the things that you did, the strategies. So you said, okay, talk to people or talk before even you write the book. So once you've written the book, then what is the kind of strategy that you follow? Do you have any plans that you?
Well, what I should do and what I did for my last book are two different things. The last book got so delayed, I just brought it out. And luckily it worked out because it's the 8th in a series, so people were waiting for it. But ordinarily, I would let people know. I would start doing a social media campaign. I use images that I use BookBrush for. BookBrush is phenomenal. I get images from there with the cover on. I do cover reveals. I do a lot of different things. I might do a blog tour. So I will pay someone to do a blog tour, and that they get blogs with different, with people review it. My Instagrammers and TikTok influencers might do it as well. And that's all part of the blog tours. I use a couple. Love book groups is one of them, and reading between the lines blog tours is another. So I will do that. I do a lot of different things.
That's fantastic. And of course, no, we have many trends that come. You can see from where you started and now that things have actually changed. So what kind of marketing trends and I'll put in technology now, do you find most exciting now? And how do you think that will impact authors and publishers in the near future?
Well, book talk is massive at the moment. Book talk,
Book talk.
book talk, yeah. So it's TikTok, but it's book talk. You have to stick to your wheelhouse. That is massive. Even the publishers are jumping on it, and the influencers are taking books from the big publishers and they're hammering them. But the one thing I will say about book talk, TikTok, they tend to focus on the same authors and the same books.
This is what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Don't they
see the
have like
same thing.
yeah, is it like romantasy, fantasy, and all that, genre? Is that
There are
what
people killing it in thriller and crime as well, but you have to
really?
stick to your wheelhouse, yeah? So I know people that are using TikTok very well and are getting a lot of return on their what they're doing on TikTok. I mean, it's very difficult because nobody does just TikTok or just book talk. They do other things, so it's a bit difficult. But I was the first person to have a TikTok book shop.
I remember
So I
when you
was the
started,
first person.
you've gone, you started the same time as me and you've like flown. I saw you doing it, I was like, Wendy.
But it was kind of accidental that I ended up with a shop, to be honest, because I wasn't meant to. At that point, you weren't allowed to do books because it was proving who did the books. But anyway, because I was launching it live on the Sunday, they said, look, just send us a picture of the back of the book with your photo on it and send us a picture of you, and then we'll know it's your book. So I did.
Yeah, Wendy. I want to be a Wendy. Gosh.
Seriously? I don't know. I don't read anything. This is a problem. I don't read the rules. So everybody's going, how come you've got a TikTok shop, Wendy? Because you're not allowed them yet for books. So I was the first person in Britain to have a TikTok shop for books. And I was selling really well when I was doing TikTok lives, really well through my shop.
Lives.
Through my shop. Yeah.
Wow.
TikTok
So
lives.
people were like coming on and then buying.
Yeah,
Nice.
they would buy them and I was sending them off. Now, there's a lot of warnings about TikTok shops at the moment. I'm not saying they don't work, but people, I'm not saying people that are selling books, by the way, but people that are selling other things are having difficulties with, people returning things and saying they didn't get them. And so it depends who your seller is, but I've never had a problem like that. I have to say, I've never had a problem like that. It's like anywhere, if you're selling through eBay, your website, whatever, you'll always get the odd one where there's a problem that says things that turn up, and you just have to deal with that. But the thing about book talk is it's about different things. Some people just stick to doing the same thing where they will put words about their book and then turn the cover over. Other people will do a lot of different things. But the thing about what other trend? Because the biggest trend, and I have to be honest here, the biggest trend since I started is it's actually Amazon marketing. If you're not doing Amazon marketing,
don't you have to pay for that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to learn about it because it's not straightforward, is it?
No.
So what do people need to do if they want to market their book on Amazon?
Well, first of all, the first start is they have to have a good cover. Yeah, it has to stand out. It has to be good in thumbnail. A lot of people will have a nice cover, but when you look at it on a thumbnail, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
So you have to cover
striking cover.
You have to have a
competitive cover because you're competing with publishers on Amazon now with all their books. So you're competing with professionals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Your title has to be attractive, and so does your blurb. Those three things are key. And if they're not, people won't go any further. Then your opening of your book. Yeah. But with Amazon ads at the moment, Amazon ads are, you have to really get used to it. It's a slow game. It's not I'm going to put an ad out and I'll sell loads of books. Yeah. Same with Facebook ads. Unfortunately, a lot of it now is pay to play. You can do a lot of other things because the more people know about you, the more they're likely they are to buy your book. So I'm everywhere. I literally do everything and I'm everywhere. I do physical book signings. Tomorrow, I'm going to the, what is it? Airborne Forces Day. It's a
What's that?
Airborne Forces Day. So
What's that?
basically, it's a fair. It's a whole family day. Yeah,
Okay.
around the
How to spell
military.
it? Spell it. Spell it. Airborne. Is it airborne? Like as in?
Airborne, yeah, not space. It's like the RAF,
Yeah, yeah.
or the
But Forces Day.
paratroopers, the paratroopers.
You'd never imagine selling a book there. So what made you think about that? That's incredible.
Well, first of all, I'm going with Crafts of Scotland, so I'm going to be with crafters.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, I was in the military. I was in the Royal Navy
Yes,
and the
of course you
Army.
were. Yes, you
So
were.
tomorrow I will have my major uniform on. So this
Ooh.
is my other thing that I will say, always use what you've got. If you've got
Always
it,
use your
flaunt it. So
skills.
tomorrow I will be dressed in military uniform. And I will
Fantastic.
actually be, that will attract people to my stall because I'm in uniform. Yeah.
Yes,
No one
yes.
else at the craft fair will be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing is when I do a lot of book tours in America. Yeah. And
Yes, you travel
I will
around,
do,
don't you? Yeah.
yeah, I do book signings at libraries, at stores, sea festivals, vineyards, you name it, do
You're
it.
there.
Yeah, I'm there. And I wear my Highland dress.
I tell you, it
Yeah,
sounds like fun. It sounds like you're having fun along with what
yeah,
you're doing. I can see it.
absolutely.
Yes.
The minute you put Highland dress on, a bit of tartan in America, and everybody's like, "Way!"
Ooh, I'm gonna wear my Nigerian outfit.
Yeah, precisely,
Use whatever
precisely.
you've got. Yeah,
Use whatever you've
fantastic.
got because it's different and it will attract people. Yeah, but
Mm,
that's obviously not technology,
yeah.
but people want, you can sell by never going in anywhere near a book signing. You can sell millions of books. Yeah,
Well, you
people
can
do it
just
all the time.
you're thinking
That's
outside of the box. Out,
yeah,
yeah, that's
that's the
fantastic.
outliers because
Hmm.
one of the other big things is the more places you are, the more people will talk about you and will tag
Yes,
you.
they
And I
do.
often get tagged on TikTok, on Facebook, and as oh, Wendy H. Jones will do it because people know about me. Yeah. So, that's another way of using social media because if you're supporting other people, the minute they need something, they'll they'll tag you in it, and you'll
Yeah,
be invited on
absolutely.
other podcasts and
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that, like more even in speaking, because I know you do a lot of speaking as well, I noticed that you get invited. I get invited for speaking now. And that's just a few things I've done on social media. Like I like to review books and I just like to talk.
precisely me
I'm
too.
happy for someone to pay me for something I love to do, right? So let's talk about personal branding, as an author, because you do quite a lot of things. So how do you manage your branding as an author?
I'm
And
really
then for
blessed.
self-published, how do they enhance their personal brand? That's advice to self-published authors as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my personal brand is me.
Okay.
Wendy H. Jones author, Wendy H. Jones publisher, Wendy H. Jones. Wendy H. Jones
Always you,
is my
yes.
brand. It's always me. And I have branded myself from the get-go
Mm.
because so many people will brand themselves as their first book and then they're stuck. Yeah. Because what happens when you bring out book two? Because you
Mm.
branded yourself as book one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I never ever branded myself as Wendy H. Jones crime writer. I branded myself as Wendy H. Jones author.
Also,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
So my books, when I'm selling them and I'm physically at a book signing, bearing in mind I have crime thrillers, which are about serial killers.
mm-hmm.
I have young adult mysteries. I have non-fiction books for writers. I have
Yes.
children's picture books. I have cozy mysteries. I've got
Mm-hmm,
it all. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
My brand is I can cover you from the cradle to the grave. That's my
You
tagline.
got it there. I love that. I love the
From the
tagline.
cradle to the
For the
grave.
grave, yeah. Anything you
Yeah.
want, that you're there for them.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
So,
literally, I've got the cradle, the children's picture books, to the
mhm,
grave, the serial killer books.
mhm. So talking about technology and tools, because we talked about that, and that is, of
Yeah.
course, we talk about technology in this podcast. So what technology works for you? What do you use for your, I know you mentioned BookBrush and some other bits of
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
What do you use for your writing, for your publishing? Because I know you're quite adept at quite a few things, even
Yeah. I
Vellum.
use
Vellum.
everything. I literally
I
use
love technology. So when you name some things, I'm like, oh my
everything.
God, she's my girl.
I use Plotter,
Oh,
which
yes,
I can
I
use
started using
lots.
Plotter. Yeah, I started using
Um,
Plotter about a year ago.
yeah, so I use Plotter. which as I say, I talked about that on my podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
Plotter's an excellent program. There's a
Yes,
free
yeah.
version you can use on one computer, or you paid version you can use it across several computers.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep it on my laptop and
Mm-hmm.
use the
Mm-hmm.
free version. I use Microsoft Office. I use
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft Word to write my books, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Mm-hmm.
Then I use Vellum,
Yes. I know
vellum.pub,
Vellum. I know
publish
Vellum.
my books.
Mm-hmm.
But Vellum, just to be clear to everybody, will only work on Mac computers
Yes, it
unless
does.
you
Yeah.
use Vellum in the cloud. But it gets a
Mhm.
bit not Vellum in the cloud, Mac in the cloud, and that gets a bit clunky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're better with a Mac computer if you're using Vellum.
Mm.
Um, I don't think there's a technology I haven't
And
looked into.
And vellum is for people who don't know vellum, it's actually for formatting. So it makes a book. I mean, it's incredible. I use vellum for, for my nonfiction work that I have. And I love the look of it. And even when I do personalized gifts for some of my newsletter, I'll give them digital signature personalized to them as a gift if I'm doing giveaways. And I use vellum to do that, the cover. So before I continue, I want to ask about AI. What's your take on AI and what is going on? Because I know it's quite polarizing at the moment. Some writers don't want to know about AI. For me, personally, I like the idea of AI for marketing. But what is your own take on AI?
Well, AI, I don't think we can ignore it.
That's
I
it.
think anybody that ignores it is going to get left behind. Yeah. I personally will not write my books with it.
That's it.
Yeah. And I won't use it to do my covers. I hire a cover designer. I am not a cover designer,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hiring a professional to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I use it for research.
Mm-hmm.
I use it for writing blurbs as a starting point.
That's it. Yeah, that's a starting point. Yeah.
That's just a starting point. The
Yeah.
final blurb won't just be what that says, but it will give me an idea.
Yeah.
Now, I will also use it for marketing copy. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's a starting point. I
That's
will
it.
use
Yeah.
it to give me ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't use it to plot my novel because I plot my novel myself.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
know people that do. Now, I'll probably be pilloried for this by saying about AI, but I don't think we can afford to ignore it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's brilliant for book titles or short story
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah.
That's what you tried. I go in and you're like, I could never have come up with that title in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll say, give me 50 ideas for magazine themes,
Mm-hmm.
which I did for my writer's
Will
magazine,
save you.
writing magazine
It's an
theme.
assistant. It will save you time. I'm a
Yeah,
technologist and I don't mind going out there. I teach workshops on AI
yeah,
because I want authors to be free to write and leave all the heavy lifting, the mechanics to the machine, and then be able to write. So it makes it
absolutely.
more productive because you're spending more time with your writing and giving the heavy lifting to the AI assistants. That's the way I say it.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I mean, but I think anybody should be able to use it any way they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal choice. Now, I'm not saying it's right because everybody is, if you say that, people get very worked up about it. Oh, you're taking it away from this, that, and the other. Well, I still think people have a personal choice.
Yeah.
If I knew a book was written with AI, I'm not saying I would buy it. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not saying I would buy it because I'd rather write one that's been written by a human.
Yeah.
Yeah?
This
I would rather do that.
I think the platforms are actually asking now, even Instagram, they're all asking now if you even your content, if it's AI written, they will just want you to declare that it's been written by AI. So they're asking now, yeah, some of them are just saying that, just declare that it's written by AI. So, if that's what you want. For me, I don't if it's written by AI, then I'm not a writer. I don't want my skill as a writer to be lost. I really like the idea of me being able to plot my writing and do everything. So, but when it comes to the mechanics and the kind of research you're talking about and all that, it churns it out in seconds. I mean, which ones do you use? You use which one of the AI tools
ChatGPT
you use? Yeah,
4.0.
yeah, and there's Claude as well. Claude is quite good. Gemini, yeah,
Claude. I
Claude.
don't use
Claude.
Claude or Gemini.
Have you ever tried Claude?
No.
I would suggest you try it. It's free version. It's very good.
Yeah.
Good.
But
Claude, Gemini is good as well. So they're all, I mean, they're free. So you use them, the free
yeah.
versions,
I
whichever one you feel
personally, I
comfortable with.
personally would never write my books using them ever. That's
No.
what's the point?
Yeah,
I'm a
then you're not a
writer. I
writer.
want to write my books.
I'm not saying anything against those who use AI for writing. That's your personal choice. But for me, it's just a skill. I just don't want to lose that skill because that's my own personal thing. That's my journey. So, and I understand where you're coming from, you know?
But I haven't used it for any of my blurbs either because my blurbs were started by me. So they need to sound exactly
Yeah.
the same, you
And your
know.
story,
So,
it's your story, isn't it? It needs to sound authentic. It needs to sound
yeah.
like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I personally am not interested in using it to write my books. I know people do that and experiment with it.
Mm,
Fair play to them. That's their choice. And it's
that's
all down to personal choice, you know.
yes, it is. It
But
is.
again, the reader needs to know. And
Yeah.
at the moment, if you put a book on Amazon and it says, have you written it by AI? Even if you tick it, there's nothing on the thing that says written by AI. There's nothing that says
Okay.
it's written
So
by
it
AI.
doesn't say, so you really don't know, even if you tick, but
No,
Amazon will probably
no.
use it at some point in the future for their own thing. So maybe
I
they're
don't know why
that
Amazon are
meaning.
doing that, and I don't want to speculate because it's a bit pointless speculating. I mean, it could be, I
Mm,
don't know, could be that in the future, if they say that AI books can't be written, they could take them down easily. I don't know. I've never ticked the
mm,
box because I don't use AI for
yeah,
anything to do with my
yeah,
books.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I can't, I can't say that I have.
yeah,
Um, my book titles even so far come from me. I haven't
yeah.
got a book title that's come from AI or anything. So, there's nothing in it that's
Yeah.
AI.
And for the listeners, we're in July 2024. So who knows what's going to happen in 2025? We're talking about AI, early stages of AI. We know that there's super intelligent
Yeah.
um, algorithms that are coming. So who knows what is coming? Who knows what is in the future? So things are moving ahead. So my advice is still paddle a little bit around this and don't ignore it. But if
Mm.
some people are really just not into technology at all, but if you're listening to this podcast, it means you're a little bit interested in wanting to bridge that gap. So I just want to ask you about how you measure success. So what is success to you when in all of the things that you do?
Well, to me, success is when a reader likes the book.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a reader enjoys the book, that's the main thing. It's when they put it down and they say, when's the next one coming? I'll be doing a book signing and people will come back like 3 days later and go, when's the next one coming out? I'm like,
Who are you? How long does it take you to write your books? Because it looks like you're prolific as
fine.
well.
I I can write if I want to write a first draft. At the moment, it's all slow because I'm having problems with my house just for
Yeah.
people.
Mm.
I won't go into that. It's not for a podcast. It's just boring. But ordinarily, if I sit down, I can write the first draft in a month.
But there you go. So
But then it has to be the second draft needs to be written and the third draft, and it needs
So
to
are
be
you are you do
edited.
you plot or you pants? Do you plot or
I'm a
you
plantster.
discovery or you're discovery writer?
I'm a
Gonna
plotter and a pantser.
calls it discovery writing, if you're not planning.
Pantser. To
Yeah,
be honest, my car it doesn't matter how much I plot, my characters just make it all up as they go along anyway, so it's a bit
yeah,
pointless me
yeah.
plotting anything really, because the minute I plot something, they go, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. Okay, fair enough. And off they go and do their own thing.
So we're kind of like winding down a little bit. I'm going to ask you some questions in terms of like, for example, what makes you really happy? What is the thing that is like your joy that makes you, you know, I know you do quite a lot of things, but what is your personal joy that makes you light up?
I like traveling.
Oh, yes, I
Uh,
know.
Traveling. If I can travel, write, and read, I'm in seventh heaven. You know,
Yeah.
I'd be fabulous on a world cruise.
So you
With
just be going. I
that'd be me.
Yeah, I know somebody who goes on a cruise to write their book and come back. They just go around for about 6 weeks, write their book and come back. I said, that's fantastic. That's a good way
When
to.
I'm earning enough to do 6 week cruises, on my own. Uh,
So in terms of inspiration or writing inspiration or any kind of thing that inspires you, like in terms of people, who are the kind of people that inspired you to go on this journey?
Well, it's really difficult to say because, I mean, all the authors I've ever read, to be honest. My mother died before my first book came out, but before I
Mm,
was even a writer.
mm,
But my mother inspired my love of reading because I was a reader at the age of 3. I
wow.
had a library card at the age of 3. You weren't even allowed them until you were 5 in Dundee
So you're
then.
already telling them. Give me my book at 3 years old. I want my book.
So my family have been really instrumental in helping me do it. I mean, my nieces, even though they don't say much, apparently they're proud of me. Who knew? You know what I mean? They will say things like, "Oh yeah," they go to her friends. "Oh yeah, she's got series and everything. She's a
So they're
writer.
proud of you,
She's
yeah.
done that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. You're
Yeah.
paying more attention than I thought you ever were." You
Yeah,
know.
I think the young people really pay attention because I've had that where my, friends' children will come to me and then ask me, and I was like, "Ooh, how did you know?" But
But
young
But it,
teenagers. So
yeah, it's funny because I've got friends who have kids and they're going, "Oh, we're going to see Wendy. She's a writer. She's a writer." But they're writers. You know what I mean? My friends are writers.
but they
Going,
just,
we
yeah,
don't.
but they
You've
just
never met a writer before. They're like,
you
"I
your
don't
mom's
seem
a
to."
writer. They take it for
The
granted, or
fact
your,
the mother or the
parents.
grandmother's a writer doesn't seem to impact. They don't care about that. Oh no, they want to meet a real writer. Okay, I'm a real writer. You know.
Interesting. So what's the future for Wendy? What are your future plans? What are the plans to take this to the next level?
Well, I'm going to be doing this. I've signed with Amy Collins of Talcott Notch Publishing,
Oh,
Talcott Notch Literary Agency.
agent, yeah.
So she's my agent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to be pitching my historical series, and we'll see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
She's very successful agent, so we'll
Fantastic.
see where it goes with that, really. I might get a publishing deal with a large publisher, I've
Mm-hmm.
never had a publishing deal with a large publisher. I have with a small publisher,
Mm-hmm.
two small publishers, in fact. So we'll see,
Yeah,
where that takes us.
actually, the question is because people like you have people who are indie publishing, and then some of them, get traditional publishing contracts. So what would be what is going to be the difference for you when you get the publishing deal? Because for some people they'll say, oh yeah, even though you get that, you don't get as much in terms of. So what is the difference for you if you get that kind of deal? What would you like? What would make you happy?
What would make me happy? I'd like to be as rich as J.K. Rowling, quite frankly. But you know what I
That's
mean?
the second time you mentioned J.K.
And I can
Rowling.
spend 365 days a year on cruises, But that would make me really happy. But to be honest, a lot of it's to do with distribution as well, because
Okay, so distribution. Okay.
big publishers have access to distribution. They have access to other things, and I think, to be honest, it's just different. This book is totally different. It's not crime fiction. It's a
Okay.
saga about a naval
Mhm.
surgeon,
Okay.
So it needs a larger distribution, really,
Okay.
to make sure that it gets to the right places and into the right hands.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that's about. Also, my agent is not just for that. It's
Mm-hmm.
also about she's pitching my books for television, movies,
Mm-hmm.
foreign rights, all of my existing
So,
books. So
so we
it's a
never,
lot.
we never, so you never know. We
You
might be,
never know.
we
You
might be
never know
seeing
what's
a
going to
Wendy
happen.
H. Jones,
I'd like to
series on
see my
TV
books
soon.
on the television.
I'd love that as well. I'd love that as well.
Yeah.
So, where can the listeners find you out there, please?
They can find me everywhere, and I am Wendy H. Jones. Do not forget the H, because if you do forget it, you'll get some woman that wrote the Sex Lives of English Women, and that's not me. So there's nothing like that goes on in any of my books. So I'm Wendy H. Jones everywhere. Social media. You can go to wendyhjones.com, which is my website.
Mhm.
And if I'm not Wendy H. Jones, I'm Wendy H. Jones author, and I'm the only one out there. So there you go. You'll
Fantastic.
find
So
me.
so remember the H, guys. Thank you
Remember
so
the
much,
H.
Wendy, for coming to the podcast. I absolutely enjoyed us having a chat, and just fantastic. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.